a bunch of tables, so I was gunning. So, okay. Let's see. I remember this one now. Let's go.
Yeah, this is a pretty, I mean, I would say this is a pretty common spot people get into and then they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, especially me, I'm really curious to hear why you do what you did.
Sure.
I read the hand. So, folds around here to the button, Pole Train 12. What a fabulous username. And he opens to 10K at 2K, 5K. And you're in small blind with Jack 9 suited. Take it away.
Yeah, so I really like a 3-bet here because I find a lot of people just automatically call with their entire range from the button. And the problem with that is you're going to miss a lot of flops. And if you take a look at his stack, what should you be planning? Don't answer that right away, but let's go a little further.
Okay. So you do opt to go ahead and stick in the 3-bet up to 25,000. So is the rationale for the sizing the depth? Is being that short, given that that's the reason for going 2.5x?
This is online. They're not folding. I mean, the way most people do it is I want to see a flop. It's like blackjack, right? I want to see the cards come out. So it doesn't matter what you put out there. He's going to call. So you might as well give yourself some room to work if you think it's going to be post flop where you're going to make your money. Cool.
That makes a lot of sense. So we stick in the 3-bet and we do in fact the call from the button, or else his hand would have been quite boring. The flop comes 3-10-3, 2 clubs, no heart on board, and it's on you.
Okay, so right here, I'm just going to say, everybody watching this, you should have a plan for the hand right now. Okay? Right here, you should have seen this coming pre-flop. The 3-bet was just a sizing that he can call, and it's not super comfortable to 4-bet fold, but most people don't 4-bet fold anyway. But right here, you should look at this board and say, okay, I can see where this is going. So let's see what happens here, and then we'll go to the next part.
Okay. So we do stick in the bet for half pot at 30K, and we get called by the button. Turn rolls off the 3 of hearts, and it's back on us again.
Okay. So everybody watching at home, everybody thinking about this, you just 3-bet, C-bet. The guy called you on the flop. The board now is 3 of diamonds, 10 of clubs, 3 of clubs, 3 of hearts, and he's got 165K back. What would you like to do with 120K in the middle? You got to bet again a lot of the time, because when that 10 is out there, think of what calls you on that flop. When that 10 is out there, a lot of guys that play pretty nitty, they project how they think about poker onto other people. They think, well, I would only continue with a pair there. So that 3 doesn't really scare the pair, right? But here's the thing. That's not how most people think. They want to gamble. They're in position. They get to see what you do on the turn, to be fair. So if they got a queen jack there, a king jack there, a king queen there, an ace high there, especially with the broadways that can develop a lot, a backdoor club, they're going to peel. And on that turn, all of that is missed. And you could set up a river bet if you think he's going to peel one more time and then just fold everything but a 10 on the river. But the thing I like is the bet we use here, and I think I just mashed a button because I was multi-tabling. I think did I just bet half pot?
You did.
Okay, so that needs to work. Now look at how big this looks compared to his stack size. A lot of times guys would go like, well, all the money's going in on the river, right? But how often does a half pot bet need to work? It needs to work 33.3% of the time, which means homeboy here is going to have to defend with 2/3 of hands. Now, if you think he was floating a lot of the time, none of those floats got helped on that turn. No backdoor club picked up anything. No Broadway picked up anything. An ace high is good. Think about having 160K and somebody bets 60K into you and you've got ace high. I'm not saying it's impossible for the person to call. I'm saying it's highly mother effing improbable. Right. So the thing is, maybe live, you wouldn't do this because the guy can look at you. He can take some time. If he's a thoughtful player, he might put this one together. But online, if a guy's playing 8 tables and he just sees you bet and his peel didn't get there, you got to fire again.
So this is an interesting spot too, because I struggle with this spot specifically because of the SPR. Where I get into this spot and I have 167K and there's 120 in the pot. And I go, well, damn, what do I bet now? Right. Knowing that whatever I do bet, SPR is going to be less than 1 on the river. So I'm not going to have as much. Well, I mean, I guess you could bluff river here pretty efficiently, but you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah. The other thing is there's going to be times position is only as important as the number of streets you play. So this is going to be very easy to play after this point. Most guys are going to fold all their ace highs. They have so many combos of ace highs, if you think about it, because there's 16 combos of ace highs that missed, whereas there's not as many combos of nines or pocket pairs or whatever it is, right? So the most common hands are broadways and aces that missed. And the way this turn is going to go most of the time, if a person is folding a majority of their high cards, is if they've got sixes, sevens, eights, nines, or 10x, they're going to call. And they're probably not folding on the river unless a club comes. And even then, a lot of people make their big decision on the turn. Yeah. You have a very clean turn bet here, because if you want to gamble on one thing, it's that people fold high cards, especially after their high cards brick. Especially when the stack sizes are super awkward. After the guy calls you here, you took a super exploitable line. He got you. Just wrap the table and say nice hand. But it's going to work a lot of the time. You're going to get folds here way more than 1/3 of the time.
So I'm sorry, Bruce. I hate to keep running this one over, because I think this is really interesting. If the turn card is, say, something different, like the 8 of clubs, or maybe even like the 7 of clubs, something that doesn't connect with your hand as well and brings in the front door draw, are you going to continue here?
That's a really interesting question, because what's the most important question you should be asking yourself about your opponent then on the flop?
What does he have?
A little bit more specifically. What hand specifically do you need to start asking yourself about?
A club draw.
A club draw, exactly. So what kind of person raises club draws?
What kind of person raises club draws?
Yeah. Aggressive, not aggressive? Which one?
Aggressive players.
Aggressive. All right.
Right,
so if you look at this guy and he's a 21-14, let's say you're using a HUD, that's a guy who's going to peel with his flush draws. If this guy's 21-20, he's going to go, hey man, I feel like gambling. I'm done messing around with your 3-bet, C-bet BS, right? I'm going to run it up. So if that guy calls you, and so let's say that guy calls you and you know he would have raised a lot of his club draws on the flop. Now you can push a little bit more on the club. And if you think he's going to fold a 10 by the river, that's a little bit more big bet poker, higher buy-in poker. That's something you can run. I would really recommend at low stakes poker. A lot of their analysis ends at, I have top pair, I want to call. I'm not saying that about this guy. I don't really know anything about this guy, so I'd be more careful. If I can't even remember, was this this is a Sunday major, so everybody's playing for fun. But those are some considerations you can have there with the 8 of clubs turn, and it also gives you some equity, so your bet doesn't need to work as much.
So I completely agree with your logic on everything, but I do question the same thing that Curtis said. On the flop, on a board of 10-3-3, 2 clubs, why do we elect to go 50% instead of something a little smaller, like 35, 40% or something of that nature? What leads to the decision of half pot?
It was, to be honest with you, it was laziness and multi-tabling. But if I had this back today, I still think I do a lot of half pot size bets too, because you notice it gets super awkward for him on that turn. Whereas they have a lot of training dealing with small bet, because that's what they're seeing all day. So he might, reach into his hat and say, okay, maybe with this ace high, I got to call because Assassinato's been a pain in my ass. But now you're looking down at 60K and you got 160K. You feel like there's no way. I mean, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying I'm not gambling on it. I'm saying maybe 60, 70% of the time he finds the fold. And that's enough combos when you look at how many combos are peeling here versus how many times he might actually raise a club draw or something along those lines. If he were the type of player to fast play a 10, you could rule out that. I'm not sure I would say that. But I don't mind bigger bets out of position, because what happens is if you force that person into that spot where it's like, take your pair and deal with it, or if you got a high card, good luck to you. The river doesn't really matter as much. What you don't want to do is play this super deep involved pot out of position where you're giving this guy a ton of info up to the big bet section of the river. But I do think there's possibly a way to bet smaller and get away with it. If you think he's just folding the high cards, I think you could do that. But I don't mind the fact that this is much more awkward on this turn.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like your line. And does it end up working?
Yeah, we do end up going half pot again on the turn for 60K.
And we get fold.
You are successful in getting the fold. And so, I mean, if you go half pot again, is there any special reason behind doing that a second time? Leaves you with 107 back, and it looks like there's going to be something like 200K in the pot when he calls?
Yeah, Yeah, you can honestly scale it down a little bit, but God, you don't want to give a guy a lot of excuses to call with an ace high, right? And if you do that small bet, a lot of people do the whole, well, it's a small bet. I'll call and I'll reevaluate on the river, which is fine if you're prepared for that and you're going to shove on the river, but it's going to be really hard to time a guy and know for sure he's going to call with an ace high. Whereas this is pretty bleh. But this was a hand people liked from Sunday. But I was thinking there's no way in hell this guy peels again with queen jack or ace jack or ace X or something like that. And right there, you have a clean bet.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I love the spot because it's a spot that a ton of people miss in tournaments. It's a spot that I would miss in tournament a lot, to barrel a second time on the 3, which to someone who's not really thinking about it can look like kind of an innocuous card and something where you might shut down in this.
I disagree. I think this is the exact card to bet.
Exactly, but I'm saying that some people would think that the 3 is an innocuous card and that it would be time to shut down the bluff with jack.
Yeah. What you want to do when you're looking for double barrel spots, the first thing to remember is people, if they're playing low to mid stakes and they're playing recreationally, they want to see the flop because damn it, I came to play. And 2, once they hit the flop, they want to see if it's good. Thank you very much. And they're going to be calling down a lot of the time. So most of your double barrels should be, I think he called once with a high card. I bet I can get him to fold. And if you actually look at the combinations on Flopzilla, you can be wrong a decent percentage of the time. There's so many combos of just nothing on this board versus pairs that you don't have to be right all that often to be profitable. And actually, I want to go to something you guys were talking about at the beginning, apropos of nothing. You guys were talking about multi-way pots. It's always good when you play to have just a couple basic things when you go into that you can work on. So with multi-way pots, okay, so for double barrels, you want to look for times when people call a little too much with high cards. The 10-3-3 board, that's a really good one. With multi-way pots, there's a few things that you'll notice happen in multi-way pots in the United States. And I just couldn't help myself. I have to tell you guys this. One, people don't raise with bluffs in multi-way pots all that often for a very obvious reason. People hit things in multi-way pots and they don't like folding. The second thing is people don't raise pairs in multi-way pots because most likely now that it's 2021, someone has learned at some point in their poker career since the poker boom, hey, if I raise with a pair in a multi-way pot and the pot gets very big, I tend to not like it because usually the pair is not good. So generally, people are pretty honest in multi-way pots post-flop, which is if they've got a pair, they call. With 2 pair or better, they raise. In fact, that's what most of them are just praying for. They somehow think if someone has kings and the board is 10-7-6, the kings is still going to go broke if they just raise a huge amount, which is just not something that's going to happen in 2021. So most people are nut peddling on multi-way pots, which is why they like multi-way pots. Now, this is how you're going to get to them. They tend to not like to fold pairs to the first bet. So you can often, if you flop a set, I've just bet 150% and said, see what happens. And if the board's 10-7-6, I've seen 10-8 not be able to fold. And then they get to the turn and they go, oh God, look at this pot size. No, yeah, exactly.
I can't fold now.
Exactly. Yeah. Brick turns a 4, some brick. You got the 7s. You bet 75% pot. He goes, oh, thank God, it's only 75% pot. But that's a lot bigger because the first bet was big, right? And a lot of and if you want to get good at finding out how often everybody's going to fold, take Flopzilla, take their pre-flop range, and take their folding range and multiply them together. So let's say one guy's folding 80% of the hands and one guy's folding 60% of the hands. It's 0.8 times 0.6. The thing you're going to find out really quickly is if you're bluffing. Now, this is super exploitable, so hopefully no one knows who you are. If you're betting as a bluff, the small bets will work a lot better because they need to work 25% of the time, and sometimes on like a king 2-2 board, everybody's going to fold like 34% of the time, right? Because think about it. If you're sitting there with a high card with like ace high in a multi-way pot and you have somebody to act behind you, you might peel that heads up, but you're not going to peel that with somebody to act behind. So if you don't have a pair, you're probably not going to continue. But that's stuff that is really hard to estimate because it's not a hard and fast perfect rule. I think it was Steve Zolotal pointed out, once one guy calls, that changes the situation for the next guy because it's different pot odds price. So his folding range changes. So that's not a perfect way to do it, but it's a good way to estimate it the first few times you're doing it. So you want to make sure you give yourself some padding. Do your overcards, will they be clean outs? Are they broadways? Or are they like an ace that's a reverse implied off that gives like 2 pair or something like that? Can you turn draws? Can you keep firing? Is he likely to fold second or third pair? If you think of these things in your next session in multi-way pots and put them in bullet points, I think you'll do a lot better.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, that wraps up our interview for today. Thank you so much for coming on, Alex. We will link your course in the description. He has amazing reviews and can absolutely transform your game. So make sure to hit him up and check out his website. I am excited to see you in a few months out for the World Series. I'll buy you a drink and excited to meet you in person.
Thank you guys for having me. It was so good. You guys take care, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a good one, Alex.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye. All right, so we have 2 more for you guys. One is our good friend Rishi's hand. I believe that's the one we're pulling up. And then one is an Instagram hand that we will go over with you guys.
Yeah, so we'll start with Rishi's hand. This comes from the 510 Streets of the Bellagio. Rishi has, I think, pretty recently become a regular at the 510 1500 buy-in, which is a place that many a poker player has made a living, a game in which many a Vegas reg has made a living. So it's cool to watch him play in these games, and his content that he's been putting out has been awesome. But now getting beyond this, here we go. Under the Gun opens here is a young pro who raises to 30. That's all the info we have on him, is that he's a young pro, not much else. There's a call from the hijack, and we're on the button here with pocket jacks. So, I mean, I think it's a fairly clear 3-bet spot with the flatter in between. If there is no flat in between, and we're talking about a young, tight, aggressive pro opening from under the gun, on the button, are we just automatically 3-betting this every time, or are we flatting decent?
I mean, obviously, some percentage of both, player dependent. It depends how much information we have on them. But no, we're not always 3-betting this hand. But given the call in between, definitely, obviously, makes it more of a 3-bet than a call. But yeah, just player dependent.
Yeah. Okay, I don't disagree with you. The tighter they are, the less likely you are to 3-bet this exact hand. So,
but I mean, I'm way more likely to 3-bet the young pro than the old man coffee.
Yes,
obviously, under the gun. So yeah, I mean, considering on the button, I'd look to 3-bet this a good percentage. I'm 3-betting more than I'm calling the young pro from under the gun. But I still have a decent percentage of flats there.
So they up the size to 150. So we'd open 30 and a call between. So there's like
I like the sizing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with you at all.
Little, maybe 140. I don't know. 150 is fine though.
Yeah, and I think that, I think this is the exact point where I think if it was anything above 150, we'd be like, oh, that's probably a little big, but like double what the pot size was there, I think is at the max point.
Yeah. And he actually likes generally sizing his 3-bets very heavily. And he also 3-bets the shit out of people in the cutoff and in the button.
Yes.
In his construction outside of that and how balanced it is. But anyways, we'll talk about that later, Rishi. All right, let's see what happens.
We get a call from the young pro under the gun, and the hijack folds.
All right, pretty expected.
So now we're going to the pot heads up here. Under the gun versus button, and flop is queen 9-5, 2 clubs. Under the gun, checks and flow. Pretty obvious check spot for him. What are we doing here? We're with pocket jacks, and they're the red jiggities, no less.
What are you doing, Ryan?
That's a great question. I think this is a scary board, given that it's the under the gun opener, and they have all of the Queen X, all of the really strong Queen X, I should say, not all of the Queen X, but
you ever 3-betting ace queen on the button here with a limper in between?
Ace
queen, king queen suited. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we totally have queens. Yeah, he's got 9s, he's got 5s, not really 5s. He's got more 9s than 5s. But no, I'm absolutely looking to c-bet this. It's just a matter of what sizing. I mean, we can definitely look to check this some percentage of the time, and I'm more scared of a queen 10 or queen jack 5 board than I am of this board. But I think we should definitely look.
Ace queen 9.
Yeah, and I'm probably looking to size this probably in the neighborhood of 155 to 175. Yeah. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, so like a little
I'm interested to see our size. Yeah, we're barely.
We have to go a little smaller. I think this may be a thing where like this happens to me a lot in live play, where when you're trying to guesstimate the size of the pot with the chips that are in there, you'll bet an amount that you think is exactly a third, and you'll.
Bro, how do you not know? How do you not just do that in your head of what's been done? Like they raise to you, and then you add the blinds. Like why are you looking in the middle? You just replay the hand in your head.
Yeah, but I mean, even when you're doing the math in your head, you can still make mistakes.
I'm flawless.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, thanks. But
right.
I mean, I don't think it's a mistake or not. But
I don't think we should assume mistake. I think he might just be betting small because he thinks he can fold the other guy out again. I don't think this sizing is gonna make him fold all that often, honestly, unless exactly 7s or 8s or something like. I don't think he's holding to this on the flop very often at all.
Yeah,
his 10 jacks are always continuing. His king queens are continuing. His ace queens are continuing. His 9-10s, his jack 10s, his jack 9s, his queen. Like what is folding?
Right. So that, I mean, let's bring up the interesting question: is it worth betting if he's not going to produce?
Yes. Yeah, because if we just check, then are we checking to trap red kings? We're not.
Right.
So we're playing received range. We're not playing our exact hand.
Okay. So the young pro check calls the 120. Turn comes deuce of spades, double, two different.
I say now we size up. Now we size up.
Yeah, so it checks over to us now. We've got 1230 in the stack, 585 that's in there. So I mean, we're kind of in a good spot to bet.
Yeah, that too.
Spot, you know, like you can bet really large here because we've got SPR.
Yeah, we're nitpicking, Curtis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was nitpicking. So yeah, okay. So you're thinking somewhere in the department of what, 300 or 400 bigger, 400?
Yeah, 410, 420.
Right. So that's gonna put us.
Because if we bet 420, yeah, we leave an SPR of like, I mean, obviously not much. There's gonna be, yeah. I mean, I'm betting like 410, 420.
Yeah. Okay. So we opt to stick in the bet of 250, which I don't like. And I think the main chief reason being that we've now given all of the draws the correct price to call us here, I believe.
Wait, why the hell did we just bet 250, Rishi? What the heck? What calls on the flop? Like even if he has a hand, if you have 10s in this scenario, are you folding to a bet like this? I'm genuinely curious.
Oh, that's a really good question. If I have it's also a question about what color 10s do I have. If I have
so you got 10s with the 10 of clubs.
I think that makes me less likely to call this, right?
Yeah, but 250 into are you folding?
Right.
It might make you less likely, but I'm just curious.
I really don't know. I don't know.
Yes. This is important. If we bet and get called again, obviously shutting down river. But that's why I also like sizing up more, because you're making him make a decision essentially for his entire stack. So yeah, strong draws will call. That yeah, exactly. We want to fold out his draws, and we want to put a lot of pressure on it, make it appear as though we're pricing ourselves in to setting up a river jam. When in reality, if we do get called, we are shutting down river. I absolutely agree with Curtis.
Right. So we
and I think we should be betting bigger.
Right. And so we get called. And this is one of those situations where, he may have been trying to size it so that they had a closer SPR on the river, but in reality we didn't want
that. But
Yeah, because we gave him too good of a price to continue. Now the river rolls off the jack of clubs. Woo, kind of a spicy river card. And the young pro checks for a third time.
Oh, I'm putting it in. Screw you. You got a flush nice hand. I'm putting it in. Call me a donk. I'm putting it in. Suck it, ace queen.
It's really, really interesting. Yeah, because like that's
ace queen with the ace of clubs.
There were, I think Jonathan Little reached out to him and said that he should check turn and then look to bet river.
No, I'm also kind of joking on the river. What I actually like the best on river is bet and maybe. Yeah. I like betting something either tiny or jamming. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to 325 or jamming. It's to the point because he has more flushes than we do. I mean, yeah, we've got the ace whatever. This is a spicy river. But I like betting to induce. We can jam it some frequency, but I expect if he had a hand that needed protection, such as ace queen, unless he had like a nut blocker like the ace of clubs, that he should be looking to raise at some point in this hand. So when he doesn't, actually don't expect him to have that strong. And if we bet really small, especially if he just has a hand that he wants to decide to turn into a bluff, maybe a hand that decides just I don't know. But I think betting to induce is the move here.
That's a really
betting to induce or jamming. We do like we're never betting just like 500. Well, I don't actually don't remember what he decides to do, and I actually remember now this hand he shared on his story, and someone else said betting to induce, and I absolutely agree with them. Curtis, what are you doing on this river? I agree. They're absolutely.
Roaster flushes lead river.
I think value.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So you're saying value bet. So what are you sizing your value bet? Because you essentially are answering the question exactly opposite of mine. Okay, do you think ace queen is raising this turn or no? Because we still have all the aces and kings. But anyways, yeah. What do you guys?
Yeah, I mean that as played. I think I get to this river card, and then I'm pretty terrified of the flush that's come in.
You're terrified of the flush, bro. Most flushes lead this river. What flushes does he have? Literally, also look at the board. What flushes does he have? Like, what are you saying? He's opening under the gun. King 10 of clubs, like 9-10 of clubs.
That this was a logical thought. See, this is the problem. This is the thing. I've been trying to tell you, Bryce. You're over here on the spectrum, and I'm like here. You know?
Okay, I know I get heated. I know bet 400. Okay, yeah, 400.
That's actually around. Yeah, Jonathan Little's recommendation was as played to bet river like 550. I think was what he said.
Really interesting.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Ace queen doesn't raise turn. I agree. Most of the time, ace queen doesn't raise turn, and I agree that we can get value from that. Do you think ace queen folds to a jam? Because I think it looks bluffier if we jam here than if we bet 500. Looking 500, I think, looks like straight value. I guess that's also partially because my strategy, I like to pull the shit out of everything and put you in tough spots. And by betting 500 here, it's still a tough spot, especially if you have like ace queen and I guess you're calling. I guess it depends on the image that you've cultivated as well in terms of how you're going to value bet this and how much history you have with a specific villain. But if you don't have that much history, you can 100% get the train of thought that we should just be value betting this. We shouldn't get too tricky. We shouldn't try to jam and get called by something that's perceptively light. And we shouldn't also try to induce because how often are they actually going to spaz off and rip into us? So I can get behind the train of thought that we should be value betting this. But at least you didn't check. If you checked this, I would be slapping you silly. That's the important thing. So what did we bet?
I think he did check.
No, he did. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. What the Rishi? No, he didn't, bro. What?
He checked it back and he won. He was good.
Oh, really? Oh, we won. I'm shocked. What do you mean? What? What do you mean we check this? How often do we think the opponent is trapping with a flush? Answer me. Give me the combos that he's raising under the gun, that he's going 3 streets with, that he decides to check down. Because if he does, let's assume he's raising 7-8 of clubs. And let's say, okay, we've got a gutter, we've got a flush draw. Let's call 2 streets. When we hit on the river, if we're not betting, why the hell are we calling the flop in the turn? We are losing immense amounts of value, especially when the freaking dude on the button is checking sets on the river, bro.
He's checking.
Yeah, if we bet and he jams, it's just always a flush. Yeah. So why are we not betting? Like, okay, if he has it and he's trapping the small percentage of the time, nice hand. Tap the table. But no, we have to bet this.
Yeah.
We can't be like, ooh, there's 3 clubs on board. I have a lot of respect for you, Ishi. I am just shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Rishi and his game as well. He's come a really long way.
Yeah, but yes, this is the problem. We didn't put a single dollar in the pot while ahead.
While we were ahead.
Reasonably assume, I think 98% of the time that we had, like, oh my. All right, I don't really have much else to say on this hand. Let's go to the next one. I'm heated.
Okay, yeah. We're done. So the interesting one. Everyone learned a lesson. We all learned a lesson there. It was great. Okay, fabulous.
Wow, he checked it, bro.
Ooh, and so this one we have a viewer submission. Always good to have viewer submission.
Unfortunately, I know the result of this hand, which is the first time in the while, so I might be able to.
Oh God, so sad. Okay, so the one thing to note about this is that there's a button straddle, and per the confines of this software, I couldn't do it. So enjoy the under the gun straddler.
That's fine. No, we understand.
I just had to put the extra $2 in the pot, so he doesn't exist. In reality, what actually
let's make it 45, 50.
Limped. So the small blind limped. It folds around to the cutoff, who limps, and now we're sitting here with 9-7 of hearts on the button.
All right, let's make it 45 or 50.
What a genius you are! 55.
55 is. I like 50. I like 55. That's fine. It's a little big.
And
55 is fine.
right, and this is fine. We're going to be in position post flop. 9-7 suited is a perfectly fine hand to do this with. Yeah, great. So cutoff does end up making the call. So he limp calls out of position, and here we go to the flop. Queen 7 deuce, 2 clubs. Cutoff puts in the check.
35%.
I totally agree. I think Queen 7 deuce is like, it's like the Ace 7 deuce. It's like the epitome of a super unconnected board. There's not a lot of
30%. We don't even have to go 35.
You're going to get a lot of folds. We're going to get a lot of folds with a 30% bet, which I think is really what we want here with 9-7
All right,
hearts.
so we bet 40, 45.
He checked.
What the fuck? Okay. Let's see a turn.
Okay.
All right. Low frequency check. We'll mark it up as low frequency. What's the turn? What's the turn?
Oh yeah, Bryce and I. If you ever hear us say that, that's when we make mistakes, we cover them up by saying they're low frequency.
Things that I do low frequency though. Okay. So if this is checked to us, we'll be betting, sir. We have no club. We have no spade. We're probably gonna get like led into it at this point. I don't even know what happens. I only know what happens. Yeah. Okay, we get led into. Now what are you gonna do, buddy guy?
Yeah,
you're probably just gonna flat. You're probably just gonna flat. Yeah. Okay. Nice. All right.
So I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing. So what do we think that the cutoff is leading with? That.
So much. Why are we checking flop? I mean, the 4, we don't have. He's got all the 7s, 4s, dude, 5, 6 suit. I don't know. When we check, if we have a queen, we probably want protection a lot, unless we have exactly like ace queen with the ace of clubs. Like, how often are we checking this flop? Like, I don't know. Not often. Yeah. So I think the cutoff is too wide. We check flop. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's why we call it low frequency, because our hand does need protection with somebody overdrawing for free. 100%. It's literally a value bet for protection,
especially in a lipped call pot where they're going
to we can play so much. We can get called by so much.
Yeah.
All right.
It's so behind us, which is the real good thing. Yeah.
And that's the issue. I know what this man has now. Oh my God, do we fold? No way. Tell me we don't. Oh no, there's no way, because we figure out the villain's hand. Okay.
So.
All right. So.
Well. Okay. We'll get there, Bryce. So now he leads again into us for 130.
Boy, if you just flat this, I'm gonna just
throttle him.
Yeah.
So I think this is a definite raise spot.
We can raise small. Very small.
I mean, I tend to agree. Well,
300. 300.
Is the purpose here just targeting? What are we targeting?
I mean, Queen X that decides to Queen Jack, King Queen.
Right,
because that he's betting turn for his value hands. Yeah, right. I mean, if you have a boat, nice hands or whatever.
And so we do opt to stick in the raise here.
If you just have deuces or 4s, like okay.
And
whoa, he actually made it 300. Nice. I didn't know that. I like his sizing.
Yes, so he does. He pops up to
Did we get jammed on?
And the cutoff repops him to 740.
Okay. The reason I'm not folding is because how I played flop. If you have deuces or 4s, nice hand. You never have queens. We block like what are you repping exactly? Deuces or 4s? What do you think we have though? Because if we have a hand like ace queen, king queen, we are this river because you have sevens. So the exact hands you're repping are pocket deuces and pocket. That's it. That's it. And I'm just not folding because how we play flop.
That's interesting. So do you think he has a lot of nothing that comes to this river?
I mean, that's Like, do we think he just has bricked clubs, which again we don't block, or like what is he repping? I mean, that's the good question. He must have just either complete air or bricked clubs / spades that decides. I mean, he also again has more sevens than we do. Oh, interesting. You think it's snap fold? I disagree because how he played flop. I think I am tainted by knowing the results of this hand. But yeah, because when he does lead on this turn, it does look pretty boat heavy. But like, I think it's you think it's an underbluff spot. All right, let's see what he has.
Well, actually,
we fold.
Putting in the fold, and villain tabled Jack 10 of clubs, I believe.
Oh, was it Jack 10 of clubs? I thought
Jack 10 of clubs or Jack 10 of spades. It might have been spades.
That's very. He said it was an airball bluff, so I think it might not even have been either. And that's also not an airball bluff. If it's a, let me check what he said to me. But yeah, kid's got balls. I think this is a lot of deuces and fours, but at the same time, it depends of how competent of a player he is, because he absolutely has more sevens than we do.
Yeah,
and unless we're repping exactly queens, he can totally get away with saying he has deuces and fours more.
It was Jack 10 of spades was villain's hand.
I agree this is an underbluff spot, and I agree Jack 10 of spades. Okay, that's not a complete airball bluff.
What do you mean? On the river?
He had bricked spades. I mean, yeah, he has complete airball in the sense, but how he played the hand makes sense. We checked flop. We checked flop. He should be betting turn. I mean, it's ballsy as hell to re-raise us here, and I don't hate the fold, but he has exactly deuces or fours, which, yes, he can have, and yes, I understand us getting away from. I think I wish we had more info on villain, because if this is the standard if this is the standard 2-5 player, I actually do agree with Curtis. This is a fold. This is a really hard thing to call. If I'm playing against a very competent pro, I am calling. I am calling.
Right.
Against the average player, I agree. I get behind a fold. But like,
they never be betting a river.
I genuinely, if I am playing this hand against like Jordan, would play the hand like this. I would say, screw you. He would call me on the river and he would be right. like, and then sometimes I would just have it and he'd look stupid. But like, I think this hand is really, really interesting, because I don't disagree. I don't disagree with their analysis and that understanding that he's so just boat heavy here. But at the same time, like, when we play the flop the way that we do, a competent player can absolutely attack that, because unless we have ace queen with like the ace of clubs, I'm not really, and like, you more so than I am doing this. You're like, okay, I have such a nutted hand, I just want value, I'll get it a later street. I don't do that. I go for value from the beginning, and like any hand that I have. Like, I don't give a shit about blah, blah, blah. Like you know, I'm C betting. I'm over C betting, especially in the games that we play. I'm way over C betting, and the reason I get away with it is because you idiots aren't attacking it. I love villain's play here too, especially because it is an underbluff spot. I like it, and how he like
super creative. Yeah, to come up with the bluff there with Jack 10 suited, because no one 3-bets the river here without it. And like you said, you're representing exactly deuces or fours, but the problem is that the button here is going to sit here and go, what is he bluffing with? Like, does he actually have the nuts on him?
And that makes it such a sicko spot. Yeah. And that's why sometimes you have to take sicko spots. Like, I have done stuff that literally you'd be like, why the hell are you doing that? But it works. And the reason why it works is because I know what you don't have. I know what you don't have. And if you want to say, okay, I'm going to call you with like the third or fourth nuts here, cool. But I'm going to put all the pressure on the world in you because how you played the hand.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the most important thing to realize about the spot. Whether we think it's a call or whether we think it's a fold, at the end of the day, it does not matter. Because we misplayed this flop, we put ourselves in this scenario in which we can be exploited by the villain. And that's exactly what happened. And it put us in an incredibly difficult spot, which I do not fault you for the river fold. I don't. But we wouldn't have been in this spot if we had correctly c-bet the flop for protection.
That's really interesting. That was a cool hand. Like, this episode has been absolutely fantastic. Holy crap.
No, absolutely.
All 10 of you who are in chat right now bulling with us. I've seen the chat freaking flying down.
No, it's been fun, and I absolutely love interacting with you guys and dissecting the hands, because these spots aren't obvious, especially when these spots occur at different stakes. Like, if this spot occurred in a 1-2, 1-3 game, I am literally snap folding this river so quickly it's not even funny. But when we're playing at these higher stakes with these people who have higher level thinkings and know what we should be doing in the majority of times on different streets, then we can reevaluate and find these calls in these situations that other times would just be such a fold.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I am down to throw a tourney.
Tourney?
I say
Ooh,
once we hit 500 subs, let's give away like $200-300. Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds like a good time.
Good idea, Ben. But anyways, there's going to be a great game tonight at 8:30 for those of you still listening. And Clark Poker will probably be joining us. I don't know if he'll be joining us for the Zoom. It looks like he's punting at Magic City. There will be a Zoom call come through. There's going to be 51, 1-2, even a PLO game running. So if you guys like that, if you guys want to interact with us on Zoom, hit me up. Cannot wait. Thank you again for tuning in. We are excited for episodes coming up. We are still trying to get Patrick Antonius on the schedule, but it looks like that will happen eventually.
It is. We're working it out.
In the meantime, thank you again for tuning in. We will see you guys next week, and we'll see some of you tonight. Have a good night.